Hi guys, it's Becky, and I wanted to do another little bracelet bash. We're going to have a party and make some bracelets, and my bead box friends are all invited. So today, I want to make some wire wrapped bangles because this is one of my favorite things to make, and it's a lot of fun and it's super quick. So if you've got some gifts you need to make, you can make something really fun, really quick, and there are a few different ways that you can go about it. So we're going to make some different ones, and I'm going to be using the gingerbread kit that I just unboxed from Softflex Company. So we're going to use some of these. I'm going to be using the Mookaite Memories kit, which is from Sam's Bead Box. So we're going to use probably these Mookaite beads for that. I'm going to be using the Cozy Chrysanthemum box from Bargain Bead Box, and I really want to use these beautiful crystal beads for that one. We're also going to jump into the treasure chest curated bead box, which was the most recent curated bead box. And I think I'm going to be doing two different sizes of beads for this one. So we'll see when we get to that, how that works. And I also want to grab some beads from the dollar bead box. So we're going to be pulling some of these guys out. I'm actually just going to pull them out right now so that they are ready to go. I'm going to be using these oval beads with the copper swirl on them. So we can do that. Let me set these aside. And I'm going to be using some 20 gauge craft wire. I've got some gold and silver, and non-tarnished copper. I might be pulling out the antique copper. We'll see how I feel about it when I get there. And you can use 18 gauge for this sort of thing, but you need to make sure before you start using it that your beads will fit on that wire. Not every bead is going to fit on an 18 gauge wire. So if it doesn't, jump down to 20 gauge. 22 also works if that's what you've got. Just your bracelet might be a little bit, like this is 22 gauge, I think, for this one. So it still works. You can still use 22 gauge. But I'm going to go with 20 because I like it. It works pretty well for that. Actually, I think this one was 22 gauge, if I'm thinking about it right. But yeah, so there's several different ways and types of wire wrapped bangles that you can have. My absolute favorite is this braided one. As you can tell, I just love the way it, like the romantic feel that you get, like the soft curves. There's also the kind where you wrap the wire around your beads, crisscross like that. I've got another example of that one right here where I did it with two wires. And then there's another one where you have a core wire and you just keep wrapping around the bead, and you can have multiple wraps between your beads or just one wrap between your beads. So we're going to do a couple variations of that as well. So there's going to be some variations that we're going to get to on this. For my tools, I've got my flush cutter for cutting my wires. I've got these flat nose pliers for tamping down because we're going to be making a loop for closures. I'm going to be tamping this down to work hard in that part. I have my 6-step bail making pliers because I'm going to be using this for my loops and for my hook that I put on the other end for closures. So we're going to be using that for that. And we've got some chain nose pliers for tucking our ends in. So that's what we're going to do with this. So let's get our beads out. I already pulled out my beads from the dollar bead box. So let's pull out our beads from the bargain bead box. And I just want to get the beads out of the way so that I can move my containers, my organizers, off my desk, and they're out of my way so I don't have to have them all in here. Come on, buddies. All right, because yeah, these are just really gorgeous crystals. They have this AB finish around the faceting in the middle, and then they've got a line of matte finish around there, between there, so they have a lot of dimensionality, a lot of sparkle, and you know, they deserve kind of a project that will highlight that bead. So that bead will be front and center and like the star of the show. And that's one of the things that this type of bracelet will do, is it will allow that bead to shine. It will allow it to be the star of the show on that. All right, so now I'm going to pull out my round nuke heights from the Sam's bead box. Whoop. Going everywhere. These will be fun to create with. And like, these might be fun too, but for this, you'd want one of the styles that you don't need a lot of beads for. So there'd be, you know, more space between the beads with this style rather than like a braided one, because you do need a good amount of beads for the braided styles, which is why I'm pulling all of these out. And I'm going to set these up here. We're just getting started. And a lot of these I'm going to start the same way. So I'm going to demo one, and when we get to one that's different, then I'll do that one. But I'm not going to do a start for every single one of these, because a lot of them will be similar. And that way, you know, we won't be too repetitive with what we're doing. All right, so the gingerbread kit. And I think with this one, I want to do the two things of wire, because it's such a cool shape. I want it to emphasize the elongated shape of these with two things of wire, like this one. Similar situation, because these are just gorgeous, gorgeous. And so I'm going to pull all of these out. I know they're meant to go with all the other beads that were in the kit, but I'm going to use these. Actually, I'm going to pull two of these out of that selection, put them back in here, because I want to make some earrings at one point, and I think these would be great for earrings. So get that out of the way. All right, so we've got Soft Flex, Bargain Bead Box, Dollar Bead Box, Sam's Bead Box. Now let's get our beads for the Curated Bead Box. And for this one, I am going to pull out these larger marble style beads, kind of like a crackle marble. Like that. And let's set these up here to get them out of the way. So that'll be a variation that we will get to probably at the end of the video, because it's going to have two different sizes of beads involved in the bangle. And these champagne-y colored crackle glass beads. We're going to have all of those in here. So let me get these put over here with that. Get them a little out of the way. All right, so I've got all my beads out. So let's do the first variation. And the first variation is going to be single bead braided, like this. And for that one, I am using the Sam's Bead Box, the Mook height. And I think I want to use the antique copper actually for this one. Let's use that. All right, so for this, you're going to need 2 lengths of wire. You're going to need one that is going to be your core wire. Why did I do that? That was weird. Just trying to, you know, I got a kink on that end. I'm going to cut off where the kink is, because we don't need that in our lives. All right, so the core wire, I'm going to cut off about 8 inches for my core wire. 8 or 9 should do ya. And then for my longer wire, I'm going to cut off about 30 inches. This is about 15 inches, so that's why I'm using it as my measuring guide. You can get a measuring tape out if you would like. And I'm off camera because I'm straightening it out over here, and I just don't want my wire wrapping around and hitting the camera. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that. And I'm going to find the middle of my wire by matching up my ends and pulling it down there. So I found the middle of my wire. And I am going to make the loop for my closure right here at the very beginning. I'm going to grab my 6-step bail making pliers, and I'm going to use the 3rd step down, or sorry, the 4th step down. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to wrap this around, going this way and this way. It makes me a nice little curve. And just while it's right here like this, I'm going to grab my flat nose pliers and give it a squish, just to kind of work harden it into that circle shape. I'm avoiding the part where the wires meet because I don't want to press them together. All right, so now I've got some wires going everywhere. What I want to do here is bend this wire this way. And I'm straightening this wire down. So it's kind of making a 7. Now I'm going to take my extra wire over here, my second one, my core wire. I'm going to make sure that this is cut flush on this end. And then I'm going to, where's my, there it is. I'm going to make a little teeny loop, like a half loop. But not all the way. I'm going to loop it right here. Just right here. This is a little bit tricky to do when I'm holding this far away from me so you guys can see it, but I'm going to bend this down so that it hooks onto that loop. I really should be using this because I have much finer control over the direction that the wire is going. See, I've got it bent down onto the loop that I just made. Okay, that was a little too much, so I'm just going to cut my excess so that's flush. All right. So now that I've got my 2 wires going this way, I'm going to take this other one, one that's pointing down. I'm just going to wrap it around a couple of times, both of those just to secure it. And now I've got it started. All right, so my core wire, 1, 2, 3. Some of these are longer than the others, and that's fine because we'll pick the longest one at the end of this to make our hook on the other end. All right, so we start with our core wire and we just slide a bead on right there in the middle. I'm going to pinch it with my fingers right here and bend this down towards the front, and I'm going to bend this up like that. So now the one that was on the bottom is now in the middle. And that's the one that I'm going to slide my next bead onto. Like that. I'm going to bend the first one over the top. And then I'm going to move this one from the bottom to the middle. Like that. And it will tighten up as you go. Well, not tighten, but you know, it'll settle into place as you go. And you just keep putting a bead on the middle one. Then you move the top one down, so it will be the bottom one. The middle one, or the bottom one up to the middle, like that. And add another bead. And just keep going until it's the length that you want it to be. Down, up, and bead. Down, up, and bead. So let me get the rest of these on here and I'll show you how to finish this up. All right, so when it's the length that you want, I am going to hold the end for this this top one that has already been bent down around. I'm going to bend it around my wire here and cut off my excess. Use my chain nose pliers to tuck that edge in, to curve it around my wire and secure it. And I'm going to do the same with the second one. I'm going to bend it around the back. Cut off my excess. Put those in with my scrap wire because that's a decent amount of wire for a few other things that I can make with it. All right, so now I've got my one length of wire and about two lengths of, or widths of my thing. I'm going to go ahead and bend this over the top of here. I'm going to bend it back all the way to the other side. I'm going to want a fairly sharp bend with this. Keep this straight so it doesn't very gently. Just get this little squish like that. All right, this end here, I'm going to bend this there so that these can be buddies. I'm going to start wrapping it to keep the wire from deforming while I'm wrapping it. I'm going to go ahead and hold it with this. And I'm going to go back down. So it's a little bit of a messy wrap. That's okay. You can wrap cleaner if you want to. Tuck in my wire end. All right, now I've got, it's about 1 inch long. I'm going to use this to make my hook. I'm going to use my second step up from my bail making pliers. Bend that right over. Then we can begin forming it into a bracelet shape. Now, my personal experience, a round shape does not fit best on my wrists. An oval shape or an ellipse fits best on my wrists. So that's the shape that I'm going to be going for. Now you can use a bracelet form for this. I'm going to just bend it over, give it a hook, and then kind of pull the edges a little bit. And now I've got a bracelet. All right, so this is bracelet number 1. I'm just gonna tuck that hook a little bit more so it doesn't come undone that easily, but we can still hook it on there. Bracelet number 1, it is my favorite, and it is the braided one. All right. Now, whoops, I have beads going everywhere. That's fine. It's normal. All right, so for the second one, I want to do this halo type of bead. And I'm going to be using these guys. Actually, no, I've got a different idea for this one. It's not actually the halo bead. Yes. All right. So for these, I think I want the non-tarnished copper or the gold. Yeah, I think the gold will go great with this. All right. So for this, I am going to actually be starting a different way than the first one. And for this, I'm going to pull off about 32 inches of wire. For the wire that's going around everybody. And I'll pull off about 8 to 9 inches for my core. And I'm I'm just warming this up with my fingers. It also helps straighten it out. I'm going to do this off camera because I don't want it flapping around and hitting the camera. Just the same thing that I was doing with the shorter one. Alright, so this one may end up being a little fiddly. I may whap the camera with it, but it's going to be fun, I think. So I'm going to do the same thing. I find the middle by matching up my ends. Pulling this down here to the center. I'm going to grab my 6-step bill making pliers again. I'm going to use the same size. Go. I'm going to stick this, I just opened that up a little bit, and I'm going to stick this right here in between these. And I'm going to grab these pliers and hold this so that they are all together in a row. Move, buddy. Oof. All right. I'm gonna have to hold it this way and then grab it with these pliers. Wait. Grab it with your left hand back. That's the way to do it. Okay. So I've got my core wire in here in between these other wires, and I'm just going to twist them around it, both of them at the same time. This is why it's going to get fiddly, is because there is a camera in the way. And I'm going to do both of these wires like this. I'm going to do it one more time. Go. I'm going to cut this about right there. Not both of them, just the core wire. Don't cut the loop back. I almost cut the loop. There we go. So that's just sticking out the top. And I'm going to bend this wire over the end. It's just going to anchor it in place. Like that. Okay. Now, I have my shorter wire here in the middle, and I have my much longer wires on either side, like that. So what I'm going to do right now, stay put, buddy. So I'm going to slide one of my crystals onto my core wire. Let me move my tools out of the way because I don't really need them right now. All right, so this one is in the back and this one is in the front. So what I'm going to do is I'm pinching my bead and these wires like that with my thumb. And I'm going to bring this top wire around towards the front like that. And then this other wire in the back, see how it's in front of the wire? I'm going to bring it around towards the back of my bead and my wire, like that. Now that it's up here like this, I'm going to take my wire and I am going to twist it around. going to do just 2 twists. Once, twice. Like that. And I'm going to do my next bead. Let's just stick this guy on here. All right. So my bottom wire is always in the front and my top wire is always in the back. So I move my top wire around to the front and my back wire around to the back, pinching my bead to make sure it doesn't go anywhere, and also to keep this halo going on my beads. So now I'm going to pinch it and twist once, so it's hitting the camera twice. One more time. This wire that's in back gets moved to the front. This wire that's in front gets moved to the back. Then we pinch our beads. And let's twist again, like we did last summer. That's your earworm for the day, by the way. I know you guys only watch me for my earworms, right? So I'm going to finish this and get it to the length that I want. And then we'll probably be finishing it up the same way I did the other one. Let's find out. All right, so now when it's the length that you want here at the end, I'm just going to do just my finishing up twists. 1, 2. And then the shortest one of these, actually, I'm going to go ahead and clip. So I do not need that guy anymore. And my core, I'm going to cut right here. Actually, this might make a good hook size. I'm going to go with the longer one for the hook. So I'm going to bend this core wire over and straighten this guy out. I'm going to cut the core wire with just like maybe 1/2 centimeter there. And bend this guy over. All right, so now that I've got this, I'll make myself a little hook. I'm going to measure 1, 2, I'm going to do 3 for this one. So I think my last hook was a little bit small. Bend it over the top, keep it going all the way around. And then I'm going to keep it from crossing over by pinching it like here, while I very gently squeeze. Where you going, buddy? Squeeze the end very gently, just little squeezes. And I'm going to bend this way. Hold on to it while I wrap. Let's go up here a couple times. What are you doing, buddy? Then down around the bottom. now let's make our hook. That's a good place for it. And like the other one, I'm just gonna bend it. Slowly, slowly catch your monkey, right? Give it a little bit of a pull. And now I've got another bangle. And this is with twisting it, both wires around twice between each of the guys, and the twist goes in the same direction. This was done with the twists going in opposite directions, and I'll show you that in one of the ones that I'm doing. It'll be the same thing that I did with this one, but using 2 wires instead. So maybe that's the one that I should pull out next. And I wanted to use these from the Soft Flex kit for that. And I really think the non-tarnished copper is going to go great with these. All right. So for this, I'm going to have my core wire, the same one, 8 to 9 inches. And then I'm going to want 2 lengths that are about 30 inches each. So I've got one, and now my second one. I know, this uses a lot of wire, but it'll be really great at the end. Wait and see. There we go. All right, I'm going to take this off camera and straighten it out a bit and warm it up. It's a lot of wire. All right, so we've got one end and then the other end. And I'm just trying to keep my wires together, but also trying to find the middle. Okay. So here's the middle. And I am going to start it the same way as the others. By making a loop. Hoping we can get these guys to stay together. You know what, I'm just gonna bend this around. Just a couple times. Whoop. I'll straighten this out in a little bit. Gonna have this bend around here, go up. This one's gonna bend down this way. Perfect. I'll cut off my excess later. Okay, 2 wires going this way, 2 wires going this way. And I'm going to slide my elongated bead, my little football shaped guy, right here. I'm going to take both of these wires, and you could do them separately, like one on top of each other. That's possible too. Or you could take them both together, but you're going to want them to bend around that bead. Give it a pinch, and then bend this around the core wire and up. The second one can take each individually or bend them together. I'm going to take these, and this little valley here between where it's bent and where it's coming up, I'm going to take these through that valley and around the other side, like that. See how that frames it? And it almost gives it like a herringbone wrap look. It's not herringbone, but it almost gives it that same kind of look. So I'm going to grab another one. Let's do that again. You can do them separately or together. I'm going to do these ones together so you can see how it looks. If they crisscross when you do them together, just do them separately. That's fine. Give it a good pinch, hold on to it tight, and bend this around the back so that it's going up. So this little space here, that's where I'm going to move these after I bend them around. Again, I'm bending them together. You want to go slow. I've got my thumb pinched on here, right here, while I pull it around the back. All right, so that was together. I'm going to probably go ahead and do the rest of these separately because it's not working out for me as well doing them together. You can do it either way. Figure out which way works for you. Let's do the second one. Okay, the inner one around the front, second one around next to it. And both of them give a bend. And first one, and second. Put them through the middle. All right, I am going to add these until they are the right length, and then I will show you how we finish it when we get to there. All right, so now this is the length that I want. I've put my last bead in place, and I'm going to move each of these wires over here and wrap it almost all the way around. When I do this, I'm just going to wrap it one more time. Cut off my excess. See, I still have my second wrap that I need to do. They're on the bottom. Let me get these wraps tucked in and straightened out. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to wrap it up and around this way. Just gonna snip it right here. And tuck that end in. All right, and I'm going to make a hook on the other side, just like with the others. Let's go ahead and 1, 2, 3. Bend it all the way over. Actually, maybe I should go ahead and give this a bend before I tighten up that end. Flatten this guy out. Gently. If things are wonky, you can always bend it back to the shape that you want it to be. So see, yeah, doing it two separately, it worked a little bit better for me than doing them together. This is a little bit wonkier. So also slowing down and taking your time with it. That's the best way to do it. All right. There we go. So that is bracelet number 3. Just to recap what we've done so far, we have one with the simple braid. It's my favorite. We have one where we twisted the wire around the beads, going in opposite directions. We have one where we twisted the wire around the beads, going in the same direction, so they both overlapped in the front and then went around the back. We used different shape beads for each of those. And let's see, I think the one that I want to do now is going to be this one, where we are going to be wrapping the wire between each of the beads several times in order to space it out along there. So let me just see. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm probably going to want my spaces to be maybe a centimeter apart. maybe less. 1.5 centimeters maybe. Okay, I'm just planning this out right now. All right, so for this one, it is going to be a little bit different because it's not going to be 3 wires. It's just going to be 2 wires. And actually 1 wire bent in half, but we'll still have a core and then we'll have a part of it that's wrapping around. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and leave most of my wire on this spool since I don't know exactly how much I'm going to be needing. And about 9 inches from the end of here, I'm going to go ahead and make myself a loop. Right. And I'm going to bend this end here. I'm going to wrap my loop with my wire. Smoosh this down. I may actually need to pull a bunch of wire off of the spool. It's fine. Hopefully this will be enough. It's just because I'm going to be wrapping it fairly tightly around my core wire. And I want my wraps to be right next to each other. All right. It's about 6 wraps. That's good enough for now just to get started. I'm going to slide one of my beads on. And then I'm going to take my wire around my bead. I'm going to just start wrapping around the wire some more. This bracelet might be easier for you to wrap your wire around that central one if you are using 22 gauge. This is 20 gauge. Even though this is dead soft wire, it's a little bit stiff. But I am going to keep wrapping until I'm about 1.5 centimeters away from the bottom of this bead to where the next bead is going to be. So I'm going to measure that. I'm almost to 1 centimeter. So I'm just going to keep wrapping a little bit more. When I do that, I'm going to count how many wraps I have. That way I don't have to keep measuring it. I can just count. Okay, so that is about the length that I want it to be. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I can't count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 wraps between each bead. Will probably do me. So I'm holding this in both my hands, pinching my guy, bringing my wire around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oof. Okay. You notice how I sort of started pinching it here? It's because I didn't want my wire to be too bendy while I was wrapping it. And if I'm holding my bead, the wire will bend. So, but if I hold the wire, then it'll be right there next to where I'm wrapping, give it some stability. All right, next bead. And I think I am going to go ahead and finish the rest of these off camera so that it's not counting with Beki, although I know you guys love that. This way I can concentrate on the number of wraps and not in making conversation. If y'all are okay with that, but I will come back when I have this to the right length and or when I have all of my beads on. Okay, now I have added all of my beads and it is the length that I want. So I am just wrapping up the end here a little bit. And I'm going to need to cut off my core. I'm going to fold this over. And now I have the rest of my length, and I cut it a little bit on the long side. So I'm going to go ahead and snip off my excess. I have enough for quite a bit more. Actually, I probably could do another, use this for my next one, but I'm going to be using, I'll just make another bracelet. It'll be fine. I have definitely enough there to do another project with. So I've got my other end. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to bend this that way. Bend this over here. Put it around the back. And just going to give it a little squish with this to tighten that up. Come on, buddy. Gently. Gently. Let's go ahead and wrap this. It'll be fine. My hook. I'm just going to make sure that all my loops are on the same side. You can twist it if you need to adjust it. There we go, bangle number 4. All right, so we've got our braid, we've got our halo wrap, we've got a double wrap, and then we've got a single wrap that goes around the core wire too. And now for my final one, something that I noticed, and this is something I just want to try it out because I'm not sure if it'll work yet, but we're going to try it out. It's me experimenting, is I've got 2 different sizes of beads. I've got my large beads and I've got some smaller beads. And I want to just do another braided wire bracelet, but I want both sizes of beads to be on there because I noticed when I'm looking at these that there's a space right here, like up here, and there's a little space down here, and I think that might look really cool with these. So I'm going to go ahead and pull off some wire and start this the same way I started the other one, and then we'll start braiding and we'll try and see if we can get this working. Okay, so I've got all 3, and let me see if I can figure out how to start this. I'm going to put my large bead on the center wire. Right here. And then I'm going to grab one of these smaller beads and this top wire, I'm going to stick it on there. And if I'm looking at this the right way, this is the only time that I'm going to have to do my beads on separate wires. Because I'm going to pull it down right there. So that that is the bottom wire. This is going to be the top wire. And then this one's going to be my middle wire. So I'm going to put one of these beads on the middle wire. Whoop! Before I move it into place. There. Now I've got my middle wire. So I'm going to want to place another bead here. This top one. And then, okay, so hold on, let me put, so I'm figuring this out. So large bead, and I'm just going to go ahead and move this smaller bead onto this wire right now at the start before I put this other wire in place. Why aren't you sliding down my wire? There we go. So that's there. So then I'm going to move this over between this wire and the top one. But I still need another one here. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick up small, large, small beads. And I'm going to have the small bead stay there. I'm going to move the large bead into place. I'm going to slide this one along so that that wire can wrap between them. I love it so far. Okay, so now before I move this smaller or the lower one, I'm going to pick up small, large, small. Okay. I'm going to keep the small one here. Move this wire up so that this is the middle. Place my large bead. Smoosh this out of the way and get this crossed over in front. What do y'all think of that? Feels like it's a little more complicated, but it also looks great. All right, so small, large, small. Scooch it all the way down. Then the small bead stays where it's at, and this wire moves there. The large bead stays there, and then the top wire moves between the large bead and the second small bead, like that. All right, small, large, small, and move the middle one here, move this wire between the large bead and that small bead. I love it. I love it. All right, let's get this finished up. I don't know if I'm gonna stop it and start it. I'm kind of on a roll. Move these guys out of the way. So I think repetition's good, especially if it's a new thing. All the way there. Move the middle bead, or the big bead up to the middle, and then move this wire down there. Yeah, so all I'm doing with this is I'm putting the beads on the wire before I move this bottom bead up into the middle. That's all I'm doing, and I'm pinching this so that the beads don't slide around. Okay, move the middle bead there, and move the top wire between the middle bead and the small bead. I just fancied this up a little bit. I'm excited about that, and I should make more bracelets just like this with a whole bunch of different other bead kits. All right. Okay, so I've got a few more to go. Just a couple more. Oh, I forgot small bead first. So let's grab that small bead, and then the large bead, and then the small bead. Like that. And I think one more, maybe two more. We'll see. Those two are stuck together. Stop catching on things, wires. All right, let me see if it's long enough. And it is. All right, so I'm gonna put one more bead down here so that it's a little evened out. To use the smaller one. So basically I'm beading the lower wire instead of the middle wire. But the reason I'm doing that is because it becomes the middle wire. If I place the beads first, then that means that this lower wire bead gets put into place when I do that. All right, so why don't I designate this center one as the one that I'm going to be doing my thing. I'm just going to wrap this one around a couple of times. Cut it off. I'm going to have lots of wire left for other projects because I just cut off more than I was going to need, and that's fine because I'd rather cut off more than I need than not enough. Okay, and now this other one, I'm going to wrap the other way. There. And now I've got enough wire to make another hook. All right, let me get this finished up and we will wrap up. All right, to wrap up, I used 5 different bead subscription boxes to make 5 different wire wrapped bangles with some beads. The first one we made was one of the easier ones in my opinion, and also my favorite. Well, maybe this might be my new favorite, but with just a braided wire and some beads right there in the center of the braid. And this was the Mookite Madness with Sam's bead box. And then the second one that we made was this halo one using some beads out of the gingerbread kit from Soft Flex and some craft wire that we twisted around with 2 different strands. The third one we made was this halo one where we crisscrossed in front after going around the bead. Wait a minute, this was Bargain Bead Box. This was the Soft Flex design kit. Why did I get them all mixed up? Bargain Bead Box. Soft Flex design kit. This was the gingerbread kit, and this one was the cozy chrysanthemum one. And then I used the really cool green check glass beads that came in the dollar bead box and some copper wire. And I did this one where I wrapped the wire around the core wire to use as a spacer between each of these beads. And it was just one strand wrapped around the whole thing. And then this one was a take on the braided bracelet where I added some smaller beads on either side of the larger beads to fill in some of these gaps on the wire and add a little extra sparkle. And I used the curated bead box, the treasure chest curated bead box for that one. So there we go. We had another bracelet bash. Thanks for joining me for this. I hope you guys learned something, or if you've already done this before, I hope you had fun following along and hanging out with me while we made some bracelets. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. Bye!